It's really true. I mean, it's twofold, right? It's the DBs you go against every day, and then it's the guys in your room. You can't have a bad day. So the combination of both of those is critical. You can't have one without the other. I think that, again, I can sing their praises. This is the best DB core, I want to say, depth-wise and top of the line-wise, that I think probably I've seen since I've been here. We've had great players, over the last 6, 7 years, 8 years. So, but as a core, as a group, the quality of, the coaching that's happening day in and day out, how early these guys are meeting to get job descriptions and execute at a high level, it's been different. So, can't say enough about the competition we have day in, day out against BIA.
How many guys right now do you think you have that are game ready?
How many guys that are game ready? I mean, I wouldn't say they're game ready yet. I don't think any. I mean, outside of Mech, being confident in where he's at, and frankly how healthy he's been, and how he's back to where he feels he's really good. I'm very encouraged though, from a group perspective, a depth perspective. I could say arguably probably the deepest, one of a deep group that I've had, and it rivals a year or two other ones, but they're different. But I'm feeling really good about a good group of guys. I can't say game ready. It's a big statement, but very encouraged.
Brian, Jeremiah has already stood out, obviously. I've never seen a freshman like what makes unique.
Yeah, I would say every guy that comes in, they're all different and they're all on their own path. I would say some got to grow here, while others got to grow there, and the end goal isn't to start at Ohio State. That's just one of the goals along the journey. So, once you start, then you got to be productive, and then once you're productive and you have a name, you got to justify that name, and then then you become a first-round pick, and you got to show your worth to being a first-round pick. So, the main goal is where we're at. He has a lot of tools. He works extremely hard, and I will say this: I would say that we've never had an iron Buckeye from Coach Mick as a freshman. I don't know about ever, or I know definitely since I've been here. So, a lot of credit to him. Where, as far as Jeremiah goes, he, embodied everything that is a part of that conversation, right? It's not just lifting numbers, speed numbers. It is the way you carry yourself, the way you train, the way the edge to you. It's all of that. And so he's the first one that's ever earned that, and, we'll kind of leave it at that.
Tate's another guy that's really stood out in fall camp practices we've watched. How do you see his skill set factoring in on the outside? What do you see as him providing?
Yeah, I mean, we can play Carnell anywhere. I think his ability to learn an offense, be the intricate details, throw him in positions, make a mistake, he'll never make that mistake again. So does a good job of learning from others. I think he's, he runs really well. He's very, very clean from a mechanics and footwork standpoint, and probably some of the toughest hands, on the team, catching the ball in traffic. So it doesn't matter really where you put Carnell. He's going to take care of his job and be a competitive advantage.
Whether it was with Chris or Brandon last year, some guys who maybe don't get here in January and roll in the summertime. Islands, it seems like you're on a similar timeline. What do you learn from? What do you see in those guys in terms of how quickly they were able to pick things up, and when you saw that they were starting to really get it, that maybe can tell you about what to expect from Milan?
Yeah. Milan came in as in the June, but man, he's really done a good job of learning the offense, learning what I want, what we want. I would say that he takes a lot of pride in his work. He does not like having MAs, almost to the point where he tries to justify himself on why he did things. Like, Milan, come, take a deep breath. But I appreciate that edge. I really do. He's jumping in and trying to take reps. He's really doing a good job, and I think right now he's just building a body of work to justify where he's at, right? That's the hardest part about coming in June. I mean, what body of work have you really, developed or proven to your peers or your coaches to really justify what you want to accomplish, right? You guys know that. So that's what he's chasing right now. He's trying to stack days and just show and develop his identity as a football player here at Ohio
How do
State.
you do that without putting too much? Because to your point, he's just behind because he wasn't here. But also, this is like a hard room to play catch up in, just given how competitive it is. How do you walk him through that, coach him through that, and making sure he's running his own race and not worried about?
Well, I'd say
making sure
probably
he's up for the-
every snap you take is worth 3, right? I mean, if you do something great, it's worth 3. If you do something bad, it's worth 3. It's not 1 minus, it's 3 minuses. So I'm not saying that's perfect, but that's probably a decent way to look at it. And again, at the end of the day, guys, I mean, your peers know, your teammates know. And frankly, I just asked them, and so he's chasing the group. That's why he's here. That's why they're all here, to be in this kind of room and hold themselves to high expectations. But the expectation of receiving what I want, that can't be an expectation. And so that's every athlete's challenge. But the work being put in is good. We're just working on stacking days right now.
Brian, what do you see Marion Whitten signed as a tight end, but
say it one more time.
Marion Whitten signed as a tight end, that's working with your group now as a wide receiver. What do you see from him? What do you like about him?
I think that Witt's weren't, it doesn't matter if it's him or anybody. I mean, we're all trying to learn football at a high level. You're competing with your peers to stand out, that I learn things quicker, or I make more plays. Whatever those are, you're always competing with your peers initially, and then obviously the whole room, and then it's nationally. You get the idea, right? So, Witt's competing with all the other guys, Dorian and Milan, and so JJ. Even though he's got a head start, I think that he's got strong hands. He's a bigger bodied guy. He's got to make sure he's not, getting a tight end body, right? He's a skilled athlete. He's definitely got some skills. He's working on his footwork, again, his mechanics. There's a lot of boxes he's working to check. And again, I think he's been doing that and attacking that with purpose each day, So, but you see a flash here and there. We're just looking for consistency, right? And that's with all these guys. And he kind of fits that mold.
Brian, when you this spring, I know Brandon didn't get to a lot this spring, but what did you see from him that still stood out to make you guys think that he can be a legit contributor for the team this year?
Yeah, I mean, we made the decision to get him healthy with his foot this past spring, so he missed a lot of spring. But I would say the way he carried himself and the way he was a leader, and then I would say once he was back, Coach Mick does a lot of things to grade guys and give feedback and hold guys accountable. So he was a guy that impressed his teammates through the summer. He was a guy that was all gold. He was a guy that the leaders wanted to vote him onto the leadership council. So he earned all that without even playing football. So how did he stand out? It was everything of the non-talent issues, everything off the field he stood out in. And he's got to continue bringing that day in and day out. But that was probably what he did through the summer to, get back on track and stay on track.
Brian, the other day, Chip Kelly raved about what you bring to the table in the meetings, et cetera. What are those meetings like right now? I mean, when you guys are confabbing with this, it looks like a pretty nice collection of talent,
Yep.
which way to go, et cetera. How would you, is it free flowing? How
I
would you
would say
describe
it's a combination of getting getting scheme install, all right? Not trying to scheme against your defense, but getting the install, the foundation built for the offense to build on top of, right? Once you get to the season, the things you want to do, you don't want it to be the first time they heard it. And so it's a combination of scheme, against your defense. First, you still want to compete. We're having a lot of competition. We're having a lot of call-up periods. So you want to have plays that work versus the defense, but you also want to build a great foundation on the install to where, you can let it grow from there into week 1, week 2, week 3. So it's a fine line. Now, as athletes, we're trying to build their foundation skill-wise, right? I mean, the skills they will need to execute the plays, whether it be leverage-based, whether it be mechanic-based, there's always a fine line of dabbling in both.
Yeah, that's what I want to say, because you were a player at the highest level. Is there only so much you can put in a player's head? You understand what I'm saying? I mean, is there a limit there? You know what I mean?
I think that you have to challenge that. I think you have to try to push that bar and make it really hard in camp season and spring season to elevate that uncomfortable level, to make sure that the capacity level continues to grow. But I think you're very mindful of that in the fall, of making sure it all makes sense. And then we always say, you know, a drop in the bucket seems insignificant, but you get enough drops, that bucket's going to overfill. So you don't want to take those for granted. But I would say this time of year, whether it be physically or mentally, you're always trying to raise the bar and push that uncomfortable level so they can grow.
What's the easiest?
I can get one more. Go
What's
ahead.
the easiest thing for a freshman to pick up on when he gets here, and what's the hardest thing to develop as a wide receiver?
I don't think it's just receiver. I think it's private receiver. I would say that it's the detail in which we operate and the amount of things that go into a simple line on a paper. You know, they always make that joke. You thought it was just running a curl around, huh? Yeah. So like, that's probably part of it. And then, based on the program they've come from, how they were raised, all those things. Again, we're trying to bring in the right type of guys, but most of these guys think they're working hard at the high school level. They have no idea until they get here. So the amount of strain and recovery, I would say the lifestyle of being an elite athlete is just something that's really, really hard to learn before you're in it. So that off the field, that, and then the amount of detail that goes into the simplest play on paper are both probably the two hardest things.
All right, folks, thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.